All right, if you're an experienced software developer, you've probably felt it. Something big is changing, and it's happening fast. The ground is literally shifting under our feet. For years, our value was all about the stuff we knew by heart. The syntax, the libraries, the design patterns. But now, in this new age of AI agents, that whole value proposition is being completely rewritten. So think of this as your guide to navigating that massive pivot. We're going to dive into the traps you've got to avoid and the new skills you'll need to really become an architect in this new world.
So the first thing we really have to get our heads around is the core problem. We're calling it the syntax trap. And it's this idea that the very skills that made us so valuable for so long are now becoming just the baseline, not the advantage.
Okay, I know this sounds pretty extreme, but just let it sink in for a second. The actual act of translating logic into syntax, the typing, the boilerplate, writing the functions, that is no longer where your unique human value lies. It's just being commoditized at an incredible speed.
And this, right here, is the hard economic reality behind that statement. AI agents can churn out code at a speed and a cost that no human being can ever hope to match. So if your job is just about producing code, you're basically in a race that you just can't win. The real question is, how do you change the race?
Well, you change it by moving up the stack. Your new value isn't in production anymore, it's in judgment. It's the ability to look at the entire system, to understand all its complexities, its trade-offs, and then make those high-level decisions that an AI on its own simply can't. You're moving from being a bricklayer to being the architect.
But making this pivot, well, it comes with a huge pitfall, a really dangerous trap that, honestly, a lot of developers are falling into right now. It's a bad habit we're calling vibe coding. And come on, we've all done it, right? You write a prompt, you get some code back, you tweak the prompt a little, get some new code, run it, and hey, it works. It feels right. But this is kind of like a pilot flying a plane on autopilot without actually knowing how to read the instruments. It works perfectly until, it catastrophically doesn't.
This slide really gets to the heart of it. AI-generated code is statistically likely. It's just optimized to look like all the correct code it's seen before. Your job as the architect is to make sure the code is intentionally correct. That means it's robust, it's maintainable, and it's built not just for the happy path, but for the messy, chaotic reality of production. So the crucial point here is this huge mindset shift. You have to move past that simple yes or no question of, does it work? Your new questions have to be about quality, about technical debt, about scalability. Like, is this solution going to create an absolute nightmare for us in 6 months? That's what system judgment is all about.
So how do we develop this judgment? Well, this next section is basically your study guide. We're going to outline the essential meta skills you need to master for this new agentic way of working.
These are your new fundamentals. Seriously, forget learning a new language for a minute. This is about learning a whole new way of thinking. The curriculum has 3 parts. First up, context engineering. That's all about giving the AI the right information before it even starts. Second, high-level system architecture. This is your domain expertise, knowing the why behind the system so you can make the right requests. And third, adversarial review, the skill of actively trying to break the AI's output to find those hidden flaws. Let's start with the one that really underpins everything else. This is the absolute core. Forget prompt engineering. That's just fussing over the words you use. Context engineering is about the data you provide. It's about structuring your repository, your documentation, your requirements in such a way that the AI has the ground truth before it writes a single line of code. You're not just asking a question anymore. You're handing over a meticulously curated briefing packet. And this is where your system architecture skill really comes in. If you don't understand the system, you can't create the right context. And of course, this context becomes the blueprint for your adversarial review later on. Okay, so with these new meta skills in our toolkit, how do we actually apply them in a practical, day-to-day process? Let's walk through what the modern AI-driven development loop actually looks like.
The loop starts with a plan, and this is where your intervention is most critical. Look, an AI can execute a plan flawlessly, but if that plan is flawed to begin with, the result is just going to be perfectly written garbage. Your job is to define those clear API contracts, specify the data models, and anticipate the edge cases before any code gets generated. Next up is the act phase. This is where the AI agent takes your validated plan and does all the heavy lifting. It generates the code, the tests, the documentation. This is the part of the job that's getting faster and cheaper every single day. And finally, we have the fix stage.
This is that iterative loop of review and revision. But here's where we can get really clever. We don't have to do all the reviewing ourselves. We can actually use other agents to help us out. This leads to a pretty advanced technique: agent peer review. You have one AI, Agent A, generate the code. And then you have a second AI, Agent B, act as a critical reviewer, whose only job is to try and find bugs, security holes, or logical flaws in Agent A's work. And you step in as the senior architect, the final authority who resolves disputes and makes the ultimate call. This is adversarial review in practice. So when you put all of these pieces together, the mindset shift away from vibe coding, these new meta skills, the whole agentic workflow, a brand new role starts to emerge. You are no longer just a developer. You are becoming the agent's architect. At the end of the day, this all boils down to a fundamental change in what the hard part of our job even is. It's not about mastering the syntax of a machine anymore. It's about mastering communication, clear, precise communication with an artificial intelligence to give it context, and empathetic, strategic communication with human stakeholders to define what needs to be built in the first place. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The very nature of our craft is changing. We are moving from a world where we gave direct, explicit instructions to a dumb computer to one where we write nuanced, context-rich specifications for a powerful intelligence. The real question is, are you ready to make that leap?